Before we begin, I just would like to say to avoid copyright claims, this video only consists of screen captures taken from the Thomas the Tank Engine wiki. CGI Thomas. We all know its history. It started in 2008 with the CGI Modern Mix in Season 12, continued over to full CGI with Series 13 onwards, bringing us some very negative seasons, which then brought us to the Brenner era, a big improvement to the original show in many people's eyes. And then it ended in 2021 with Big World Big Adventures and its 3 seasons. In these 12 seasons are lots of episodes, positive and negative. Today I would like to share my top 10 favorite CGI episodes. However, this is not a list consisting of the best episodes from the Brenner era for the most part. No, this will actually be a list of episodes mostly which I remember watching as a little kid, with some episodes I watched later on when I grew up, as they didn't air quite a few episodes here in Germany. And lastly, as always, this is my opinion, so don't hate me about this list please. Anyway, that's all I have to say, so let's get started. Being Percy is an episode I remember watching a lot when I was a kid. I don't know why, but I just enjoyed it and I always watched it on my DVD. Of course, I didn't know it was from a hated era as I was a child. Therefore, this episode has always existed in my memory. Quick plot is that Percy tries to be like Gordon, he makes some mistakes and the episode ends with Gordon crashing and him, as usual, realizing his mistake. Even nowadays, I think it's a decent episode. I can understand Percy in some ways. I mean, he doesn't get attention from others because he's a bit smaller, but then engines like Gordon are always noticed. Therefore, I understand him. But of course, again, that's just my opinion. Percy and the Calliope is also an episode I remember watching on TV, and I liked it too. I think the plot, which is Percy trying to save the Calliope, is actually quite nice. I mean, how he does it is from the perspective nowadays really stupid, but I think it was still alright. I do remember watching it every time it came and I always enjoyed it. Especially the ending where Percy did manage to play it, and then, what I realized only a few months ago, it starts playing Percy's theme, which is quite nice actually. Express Coming Through, just like the previous ones, is an episode I surprisingly watched a lot. Nowadays I don't actually, but I still remember it fairly well. And when I again first watched it, this episode melted into my brain and it is still in it. The episode, which is Thomas taking the express by mistake, is literally stupid because I think he can't pull an entire express by himself. But this is the Nitrogen era we are talking about, so there you go. However, this is still a good episode in my opinion. I like it a lot, much more than others. Therefore, it got the number 8 spot on this list. The first Brenner era episode, and it's already a banger. Last Train for Christmas is my favorite CGI Christmas episode. This is, I believe, one of the episodes I first watched when I started watching YouTube or became active on the internet, and I immediately liked it. I like that it's a Connor episode, a character alongside Caitlin we never got to see very often. What I especially like is that Connor and the other engines, except Diesel, try to get the last train for Christmas to reach its destination, and that Connor wants to help the little boy with his family. Really nice of him. So, a great episode. a Gordon and Spencer rivalry episode. And a good one actually. I really like that this episode is the one where Gordon and Spencer stop their arguments and disagreements and, well, help each other. Both characters are pretty stupid in a funny way really. It's a bit obvious that they don't notice that they got the wrong coaches, which is a bit weird, but hey, it's still a very great episode. And again, a good one to end the arc off. This episode, alongside Last Train for Christmas, was what I can remember one of the first episodes I watched online, and I again liked it immediately. The concept of giving Doug his own coaches now on the show was pretty cool. A concept that was sadly not taken over from the Railway series where he and Oliver had other coaches. But hey, better than nothing really, right? The slip coaches are alright characters. The way that they can just uncouple is pretty clever, I must say. The only thing I wonder is what happened to them when they are dropped off. Does the Shanta just push them into the yard or something? That's actually something I would really like to know. I'm actually going to look it up after this video. So again, another great episode. Bill or Ben is in my opinion a cool and funny episode. Bill and Ben abusing the fact that Connor doesn't know there are two of them is really funny, clever and cheeky. I remember actually laughing a bit when I watched it when I was younger. I also found it interesting that we got to see them a bit different, now being blue and such. This could have been a bit cooler or funnier maybe perhaps, if they actually kept it just for one more episode or so. But sadly didn't happen. Oh well. But a really solid Bill and Ben episode, I must say. Surprisingly, a Big World Big Adventure episode. Yes, I like Heart of Gold a lot. I mean, like many people probably also consider, it's literally the best Toby focused episode, which surprisingly came from here. When it first aired, I really liked it a lot. It basically is that people make fun of Toby because he's old, only for Toby to prove them wrong and they praise him afterwards. It's a simple plot, but still an enjoyable one. Therefore, it is on this list. Okay, this is definitely my favorite Nitrogen era episode. I watched it so often, even from time to time nowadays, and I think it's just cool. Of course, not the best episode at all, but still a fairly good one. I like the ending where the engines blow the whistles and move forward and backward especially, which I also think is the part that people remember the most. I just like it a lot. Overall, I think this episode is better than most other episodes, that's why it's in number 2. However, there is one episode which is still better by far. Slow Steven is definitely my absolute favorite episode of CGI Thomas of all time. When it first aired, I literally fell in love with it. I like Steven especially a lot in this. I like that we see him in a different place rather than the castle, and that this episode is about him and Gordon. My favorite part is definitely when it gets serious and Steven is brave enough to cross the damaged suspension bridge to save Gordon and the express from a very nasty accident. I just love how it's shot and animated. The music is just great too. I think it really fits. This episode, in my opinion, just perfect. So there you go, my top 10 favorite CGI Thomas episodes. There was definitely a good mix of all 3 hours in it, and I think the list is pretty good, of course in my opinion. On a side note, I would like to say this is actually my second 200, or better said 225 subscriber special. I want to thank you guys again for this number. You guys are again the best. Other small updates I have is that I am currently one by one upgrading my engines. So far I finished Thomas, Henry and Gordon. I think they look much better now, and I hope the others will be the same. Other than that, I really can't say anymore. So I will say goodbye and see you tomorrow or with the next video. Bye bye.